When my wife looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I slept with your dad last night," I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. I just smiled, and said one word that made her world collapse: "Congrats." She had no idea that I already knew everything, and that her confession was actually the beginning of her biggest downfall. I always believed honesty was the foundation of any marriage. My wife, Sana, and I had been married for 3 years, and even though we had our ups and downs, I thought we were solid. My dad visited us often, but it was never anything strange. He helped me with repairs, shared dinner with us, and told us stories from his younger days. Nothing about it ever felt off. Until one day, the atmosphere changed. Sana started acting weird, avoiding me, jumping whenever I walked into the room, whispering on the phone in the bedroom. She got irritated at the smallest things, like I was somehow bothering her just by existing. I noticed, but I didn't react. I waited. A week later, I found something. Not a message, not a photo, but a receipt. A fancy restaurant, 2 people, late at night. A place neither my dad nor Sana had any reason to be at. I still didn't confront her.
Why?
Because when people are lying, they eventually trap themselves. And Sana was digging her own hole with every panicked look, every sudden smile when her phone buzzed, every excuse she created out of thin air. Then came the day she finally broke. She stood in front of me, dramatic, nervous, almost shaking, like she had been rehearsing her speech for hours. I could see the fear behind her eyes, mixed with a strange kind of pride. She wanted to shock me. She wanted to sit on some strange moral high ground. She took a deep breath and said, "I slept with your dad last night." She waited for me to explode, to scream, to break things, to lose control. But I didn't. I simply looked at her and said, "Congrats." The confusion on her face was priceless. What do you mean, congrats?" she snapped. I leaned back in my chair, completely calm. "It means congratulations. You finally admitted what I already knew." Her jaw dropped. You knew?" "Of course," I replied. "The sneaking around. The late nights. The phone calls. The lies you weren't smart enough to hide." She turned pale. "So, why didn't you stop it? Or say something?" I shrugged. "Because stopping you isn't my job. Watching you expose yourself is." That's when the real panic hit her. She rushed toward me, crying, saying it was a mistake, saying she was confused, saying she was angry at me for being emotionally distant. She blamed stress, blamed loneliness, blamed everything except herself. But I had already made up my mind days earlier. I opened the drawer and pulled out the papers, not divorce papers, but something else. A letter from my dad. A letter where he explained that Sana had been trying to manipulate him emotionally, claiming she and I were having problems. He told me she kept inviting him places, insisting he join her at dinners, pretending she needed fatherly advice. He apologized for not telling me sooner, but he didn't trust how she would react. My dad never betrayed me, but she wanted me to believe he did. I dropped the letter in front of her. She stared at it, trembling, reading every word. By the time she reached the end, she realized the truth. She tried to use the most disgusting lie imaginable, and it backfired harder than she ever imagined. She sank to the floor, sobbing, saying, "Please, please don't leave me." But it was too late. "Sana," I said quietly, "you didn't break this marriage today. You broke it the day you decided lying was easier than talking." I walked out of the house that night with my dad waiting outside. He put a hand on my shoulder and said, "Let's go home." And for the first time in months, the air felt light again.